In this lecture, we are going to learn about environmental impact assessment or EIA. This topic has important for CSE examination in the sense that there can be direct question in prelims and mains also. In prelims, there can be a question, there can be objective question on the basis of this topic, and in mains you will have direct question that you have to analyze and write the answer. Now let us look into what EIA is. EIA is basically a decision making tool. Whenever a developmental project is undertaken, let's say mining or construction of dam, construction of highways, it will have environmental implications. That is, it will change all the environmental variables such as the quality of soil, the quality of air, quality of groundwater in that particular area. So environmental impact assessment help us to measure or predict the impact that any developmental project will have on the environment, and at the same time quantify it after identifying the impact, and take on the basis of it take a decision whether to undertake the project or reject it. Also it helps us to continuously monitor and assess the impact of the project in such a way that the impact can be continuously minimized. So let's look into it graphically. Suppose this is the normal condition when any developmental project such as mining or construction of dams, construction of highways are not undertaken. So this is our environmental parameters in normal condition. Now a project, let's say construction of dam is initiated. So this project will have impact on all the environmental variables, that is impact on soil, air, aquatic life, and displacement of people, so EIA will help us to identify all the environmental concerns in detail which is related to this particular project, that is construction of dam. At the same time, it will help us to minimize the impact. So let's say without EIA, if the magnitude of impact is equal to X, then after EIA, the magnitude of the impact on the environmental variables will reduce to a new variable Y. So this is the magnitude, that is difference X minus Y, which is the reduction of the impact on the environment that has been arrived by using the tool, that is environmental impact assessment. So this is the new impact after EIA. Thus, there is always a stalemate between development and conservation, as it is seen, and EIA is a tool to take decision whether to undertake a project or abandon it, and if we are taking the project or approving it, how to manage all the environmental concerns that are associated with. The function of EIA is to identify the impact, quantify all the impacts that will that a project will have. So the first is identification, second is measurement and quantification, so this will help us to assess the degree of the impact, which will vary with all the different kind of projects. The third is mitigation of impact. Mitigation of impact through environmental management plan. Which is EMP, and then finally the monitoring and evaluation. So, to continuously monitor and assess the impact and take the corrective action, which will vary according to life cycle of a project. So, these are the 4 functions of EIA. Now, let us look into how EIA came into existence and what is its history in India. If you look into history of EIA, it has evolved from USA, that is United States of America. But before this, in 1962 came a book called The Silent Spring. So, this is a book that you can quote in your mains answer as well, for essay as well as GS papers. So, this is The Silent Spring. That came in the year 1962, and the author of this book was Rachel Carson. She highlighted the ill impacts of excessive use of pesticide on the environment, and her book The Silent Spring triggered a debate in the environmental governance in the United States. And in 1969, National Environmental Policy Act made environmental impact assessment mandatory for all the projects in USA. So, in United States of America in 1969, National Policy Act made environmental impact assessment mandatory for all the projects that were undertaken. Now, if you look into the environmental governance of India, the Bhopal gas tragedy in 1984 was watershed moment for environmental governance in India. In 1986, Government of India came with Environmental Protection Act. So, in India, the Environmental Protection Act 1986 was related to all the aspects of the environment, that is air, water, and different variables related to environment. And but before 1994, EIA was not formally promulgated. In 1994, EIA was promulgated in this act, which is Environmental Protection Act 1986. So, this is important for prelims, that is EIA comes under Environmental Protection Act. So, this is a fact that you have to remember. Now, after the notification of Government of India under Environmental Protection Act 1986, EIA became a norm to make decision over any developmental projects in India. Now, let us look into a detailed procedure of environmental impact assessment, which is under the Environmental Impact Assessment Notification 2006. And after discussing notification of 2006, we'll also look into what are the changes that Government of India has proposed in draft notification of 2020. But notification of 2006 remains a base or a template on the basis of which environmental impact assessment is done. For the purpose of EIA, there are 4 stages which are screening, scoping, public consultation, and then finally appraisal. Now, before that, we have to understand that all the developmental projects that that are undertaken will not have the same kind of impact. So some projects will have a greater impact on different variables of environment, such as mining or construction of dams, which are large, and it has greater implications for the environment. But at the same time, there are other projects which are done at a smaller scale, and the nature and kind of impact that these projects will have will be different. So on the basis of the extent of the impact on environment, the developmental projects are categorized. So basic categorization or classification are category A and category B. There is further subcategorization of category B projects, that these are B1 and B2. In category A, all these projects which will have greater impact on environment, such as mining, construction of dams, and similar kind of project are under category A. For all the projects which are under category A, environmental impact assessment is mandatory. So for all the projects that falls under category A, EIA is mandatory. Now in category B project, all the projects that falls under category B1, again these classifications are based on the nature and extent of impact. So all the projects that will come under B1 will have to undergo environmental impact assessment, and EIA is mandatory. And for the projects which falls in category B2, EIA is not mandatory. Now there is again a difference. All the projects which are in category A will have to undergo environmental impact assessment and appraisal by EAC. EAC is a body which analyze and appraise the environmental impact assessment report of any party. So and it stands for Environmental Appraisal Committee. At the level of state, there is another body which is SEAC. So as EAC stands for Environmental Appraisal Committee, but S stands for state level. So this is state level environmental impact assessment. So SEAC is state level environmental appraisal committee. All the projects of category A will be appraised by EAC. All the projects of category B, B1 is appraised by SEAC. There are two levels where the decision for approval or rejection of any project is undertaken, that is EAC and SEAC. Now let us look into the first step of EIA procedure, that is screening. In the screening, a decision on whether a project falls under the category where EIA should be taken is done. Now that what it means, that not all the project requires EIA, because there can be some developmental projects which will have very little amount of impact on environment. So these categories of project are exempted from EIA, and there are another categories of developmental projects which are subjected to EIA and EIA norms. So on the level of screening, which is at the first level of environmental impact assessment procedure, a decision is taken whether a project falls in the category where it is subjected to the procedures of EIA, or it is exempted from the procedures of EIA. So, the first process is screening. Now, second process is scoping. Scoping is most important step in the procedure of EIA. Now, let us look into how scoping is done and what is its significance. As we know, the projects are categorized in category A and category B projects. Now, in the process of scoping, all the projects which are subjected to EIA are given TOR. TOR stands for term of reference. As we have discussed that different kind of project will have different nature of impacts on the environment. That is, mining will have a different set of environmental concerns. The construction of dam is associated with different set of environmental construction. For construction of thermal power plant will have different impact, and it will cause changes in environmental variable which is different from the construction of dam. So, at the level of scoping, TOR is given for every project, and TOR gives all the environmental parameters which needs to be assessed. Environmental parameters in the sense that the parameters related to air, water, noise, soil, and socio-economic implications. This is also very important point of EIA, not only environmental variables, but socio-economic impacts of any project is also assessed in the process of EIA. After furnishing TOR, which is given by expert appraisal committee, it is given by EAC to the project proposing party, a study is done on all these given parameters. And after all these studies, this study includes baseline. Baseline is the present environmental parameters and their measurement and its quantification, such as level of noise, level of air pollution, or condition of aquatic life, condition of forest, and all such variables that comes under baseline, and a prediction on the basis of this TOR is done that how the given project will change all the parameters. On the basis of these baseline data, there are prediction which is done, and the prediction is in a way the quantification of the impact that a developmental project will have on the environment. So, first is baseline, which is condition without the project, without the given project, and then the prediction of it, that is prediction of changes which will be caused by the project, is also mentioned in the EIA report. Now, after the process of scoping, that is after the analysis of different changes that will be brought about by the given developmental project, the public consultation is done, and public consultation is very important process which makes EIA more democratic and participative in nature. So, in public consultation, all the studies which are done on the basis of TOR is made public, this also means that people can take participation in the decision making, and it has to be done, public consultation has to be done with a prior notice of 30 days. So, a notice on the public hearing and the place where it will be done is given by the State Pollution Control Board. So, public consultation is conducted by State Pollution Control Board, and after the notification, which includes the study and findings of EIA and the date and timing of the hearing of the people's concern, the SPCB conducts public consultation, and the opinions of the public, that is which comes after the participative process or consultative process, is also mentioned in the EIA report. So after all these stages, that is study of the changes in different parameters which a project can cause, and the concern of publics which is mentioned in the EIA report, the report is given to the EAC, which is Expert Appraisal Committee at the level of central government, and SEAC for category B project at the level of state. Expert Appraisal Committee assess the environmental impact assessment report, and on the basis of that they have to give the decision on whether the given project is recommended or rejected. So EAC is the final decisive authority for any project, and they take their decision on the basis of findings of EIA. Recommendation of EAC is final on any project. Let me just give you a brief outline of how an EIA report looks like. So first, if you read any EIA report, it will have introduction of the project, and then in the second part it has project details, the area where this project will be undertaken, and all specific details of the projects. And then you will have the description of changes in the environment, that is the studies on the basis of terms of reference which is given to the project proposing party by Environmental Appraisal Committee. Now after the description of changes in various environmental variables, the next part is analysis of alternatives, such as the technological alternative which can help to reduce the impact of the given project on the environment. And then finally it has environmental management plan also, which is related with how to continuously monitor the impact and assess and take corrective action also. And finally it has project benefits. So on the basis of all the information, EAC takes a decision whether to grant the approval or reject the proposal which is given by the party. Now there are two dimensions. First dimension is the robustness of environmental impact assessment report, which is very important to take a informed decision. And the second aspect of it is time bound manner of decision, which is equally important so that any developmental process can expedite, and it also makes economic sense. Now considering all of it, the government of India has an online portal which is called as Parivesh. Now this you can remember, it is important for preliminary examination. Parivesh is single window environmental clearance interface for all kind of projects.